Welcome back to my channel. Today we'll dive deep into the backbone of Chinese imperial administration, the remarkable system of the 6 ministries, or 六部. We'll uncover how these powerful government departments came to be and explore the vital roles each one played in governing the empire. Long before the 6 ministries became the foundation of imperial administration, Chinese thinkers were already imagining a government divided by function. This story doesn't begin with a complete system, but with early ideals and experiments that hinted at what would come later. One of the earliest examples appeared in the Zhou Li, or Rites of Zhou, a classical text that described an ideal government with 6 court departments. These included a Ministry of Heaven for governance, a Ministry of Earth for managing land and the population, a Ministry of Spring for rituals, a Ministry of Summer for military affairs, a Ministry of Autumn for justice, and a Ministry of Winter for public works. While this model was never fully implemented, it offered a powerful early framework for thinking about imperial governments. When it comes to systems that were actually put into practice, one of the earliest was the 3 lords and 9 minister 三公九卿 system. Some sources trace its origins as far back as the Xia dynasty, though evidence from that period is limited. It wasn't until the Qing dynasty that this structure became clearly documented and served as the primary model for the central government. In this government system, the 3 lords were the highest-ranking officials, similar to chief counselors to the emperor, who oversaw the government. The 9 ministers each headed specialized government offices or court with distinct functions. In this system, the 9 ministers worked independently of each other, often even in competitive ways, creating redundancies and inefficiency. Seeking a more streamlined and centralized administration under the emperor, the Qing dynasty created the first version of the Department of the State Affairs, or 尚书省. At first, this office started primarily by handling imperial documents and communications for the emperor. However, over the next few centuries, the responsibilities and influence of the Department of the State Affairs expanded greatly. As the workload of this department grew, internal divisions were created known as cao. Each cao was dedicated to a specific area of administration, paving the road for the structure of the later 6 ministries. A pivotal moment arrived in 581 CE when Yang Jian seized the northern Zhou throne, proclaiming himself Emperor Wen of the Sui by 589 CE. He had reunited China after almost 4 centuries of division. This great achievement, however, presented an equally significant challenge: effectively governing the vast new empire. Emperor Wen understood that to build a lasting dynasty, he needed a centralized and efficient administration. The improvised system of the past were no longer sufficient for a unified China. To turn his vision into reality, Emperor Wen and his advisors set out to reorganize the central government from the ground up. At the heart of this effort was the formal creation of the 3 departments and 6 ministry system, 三省六部. This wasn't simply a change in names. It was a deliberate plan designed to create a more structured and efficient administration, firmly reinforcing imperial control. The new central government had 3 main departments, each with a clear role. The 中书省 drafted edicts and policy documents. The 门下省 reviewed those drafts and had the power to request changes or even reject them. Together, these 2 departments handled the process of formulating and refining state policies. Once a decision was finalized, it moved to the Department of State Affairs, or 尚书省, which acted as the executive branch. This department was responsible for putting policies into action across the empire. Beneath the Department of State Affairs sat the 6 ministries. Each was led by a minister, 尚书, assisted by vice ministers, 侍郎, and handled a distinct area of governance. These reforms brought real and lasting change. For the first time, the names, responsibilities, and internal hierarchy of the 6 ministries were clearly defined. This clarity replaced older systems that often overlapped or conflicted with one another. The structure also encouraged specialization by assigning each ministry a clear function, whether military, legal, financial, or otherwise. Officials could focus on their areas of expertise, which made the entire system more efficient. Just as importantly, this centralized model gave the emperor stronger control over the government. With a clear chain of command and defined responsibilities, it was easier to enforce decisions, monitor performances, and keep local officials in line. Most of all, the Sui system lasted, and the following Tang dynasty adopted almost as is and used it as the backbone of their own administration. It was also during the Tang dynasty that the official names of the 6 ministries were finalized, to be passed down through later dynasties. In fact, this structure continued to serve as the core of imperial government for over 1,000 years. With the framework in place, we can now look at how each of the 6 ministries functioned during the Sui dynasty. These were not just symbolic offices, they were active centers of administration, each with specific responsibilities and real influence on how the empire was run. The Ministry of Personnel, or Li Bu, with Li meaning official or civil servant, managed what was arguably the most important resource in the empire, its officials. In a government that relied on bureaucracy to project imperial power, this ministry controlled the flow of talent into and through the system. Its responsibilities involved everything from the initial recruitment and appointment of individuals to positions within the government, to their ongoing assessment, promotion, or, if necessary, demotion. The ministry also maintained detailed records of every official, tracking their rank, performance, and length of service. In addition, it managed titles, honors, and hereditary grants. Though the Sui placed less emphasis on aristocratic privileges than earlier dynasties had, even leaves of absence and posthumous honors fell under its jurisdiction. In short, this ministry was responsible for making sure competent people were placed in the right positions and held accountable once they were there. Its effectiveness shaped the quality and loyalty of the entire civil service. If the empire had a human resource department, this was it. The Ministry of Revenue, or Hu Bu, with Hu meaning household, was the financial engine of the Sui government. It was responsible for the population count, the land system, and the flow of money and goods into the state. Its first major task was the census, which involved registering households and individuals throughout the empire. These records were essential not only for taxation, but also for assigning labor and military service. The ministry also managed land registration and distribution, particularly under the equal field system, which helped keep the tax base balanced and productive. The ministry collected taxes in a variety of forms, including grain, cloth, and labor. It oversaw the empire's treasuries and granaries, monitored food prices, and managed coin production. In some cases, it even controlled state-run monopolies on essential goods like salt and iron. Without this ministry, nothing else would have functioned. It provided the state with the resources to build roads, maintain armies, pay officials, and respond to disasters. Its data also gave the central government a clearer picture of the empire's population, land use, and economic health. The Ministry of Rites, or Li Bu, with Li referring to rites, ceremony, and social propriety, handled a category that might feel strange today, but was central to how the Sui dynasty understood legitimacy, ritual, order, and cosmic harmony. This ministry oversaw all official ceremonies, including sacrifices to heaven, earth, and the imperial ancestors. These were not just symbolic performances, they were essential displays of the empire's virtue and connection to the mandate of heaven. The ministry also enforced strict court etiquette, ensuring every interaction at the imperial level followed protocol. Its duties didn't end with rituals. The Ministry of Rites managed relations with foreign states, organizing formal receptions for envoys and tribute missions. These ceremonies were carefully staged to reinforce the emperor's superiority in the known world. It also played a key role in education and the early imperial examination system. The Sui government began to move away from hereditary appointments and toward selecting officials based on merit. administering these exams fell to the Ministry of Rites. If you're interested in learning more about the imperial exam, I made another video going over how that worked, linked above. It also handled calendar making, astrology, and even the oversight of Buddhist and Taoist clergy, areas tied directly to how emperors claim legitimacy through cosmic alignment and moral order. This ministry reinforced the ideological foundation of the dynasty. It helped shape a system in which performance, learning, and ritual priority were linked to political authority, a direction the Tang Dynasty would later expand even further. The Ministry of War, or Bingbu, with Bing relating to soldiers and weapons, was responsible for the administration and logistical support of the empire's military forces, while battlefield command was often given to appointed generals or the emperor himself. This ministry ensured that the military system behind them remained organized and ready to act. Its duties included managing appointments, promotions, and service records for military officers. It oversaw the complex process of conscription and troop mobilization across the empire, ensuring that quotas were met and units were fully staffed. The ministry maintained detailed military rosters and maps. It supervised the production and storage of weapons, armor, and other supplies, often coordinating with the Ministry of Works. It also oversaw military colonies, particularly in frontier regions, which helped secure border zones and provided local support for garrisons. Additionally, it managed the imperial courier and postal system, which were essential for fast military communication across the vast territory of the Sui Empire. In a recently reunified China that still faced threats from nomadic powers to the north and west, and where internal unrest remained a possibility after centuries of division, the Ministry of War was crucial. It gave the Sui court the ability to project force, defend its borders, and respond quickly to challenges across the empire. The Ministry of Justice, or Xingbu, with Xing meaning punishment or criminal law, upheld law and order throughout the Sui Empire. Its job was not only to punish wrongdoing, but also to provide consistency and fairness in how laws were applied across different regions. One of its main tasks was drafting, interpreting, and periodically revising the legal codes. The Sui dynasty is especially known for the Kai Huang Lu, a legal text praised for its clarity and relative leniency. This code became a major influence on later Chinese dynasties and even shaped legal traditions of neighboring countries like Japan and Korea. The Ministry of Justice made sure these laws were publicly issued and properly implemented. The ministry also oversaw all levels of court system, from local county courts to the central judiciary. It handled major criminal cases, especially those involving capital punishment or high-ranking officials, which typically required approval from the emperor. It managed imperial prisons, enforced punishments, and reviewed appeals from lower courts, helping to create a more unified legal process across the empire. By setting standards and overseeing the administration of justice, this ministry played a central role to maintaining stability. It provided the legal foundation for resolving disputes and dealing with crime in a consistent and organized way. A significant step forward after long periods of legal fragmentation in early centuries. The Ministry of Works, or Gongbu, with Gong meaning work, craft, or construction, handled the physical constructions and maintenance of the empire. It was responsible for everything from infrastructure projects to managing state-run industries and organizing labor for major public works. Its officials planned and oversaw major government construction projects. These included imperial palaces, tombs, city walls, and government offices in both the capital and the provinces. Most famously, this ministry was behind one of the greatest accomplishments of Sui engineering, the Grand Canal. This massive waterway system linked the Yellow and Yangtze River and required the coordination of tens of thousands of laborers. Beyond construction, this ministry managed government workshops and arsenals that produced supplies for both civilian and military use. That included weapons, tools, building materials, and even siege equipment. It was also in charge of organizing unpaid labor, which required peasants to work on state projects for a set amount of time, a practice that placed a heavy burden on the population. Additionally, it standardized weights and measure across the empire to ensure fair trade and consistent accounting. The work of the Ministry of Works left a lasting mark on the empire's geography and economy. The Grand Canal alone transformed how grain, goods, and troops moved between North and South China. Despite its cost and human labor, this single project became a key artery for Chinese civilization for centuries. The six ministry system was the foundation that provided the structure for governing a massive empire for much of Imperial China. Which ministry's role do you think was the most critical for an emperor to control? And what other parts of China's imperial government would you like to see? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to support this channel and help me uncover more fascinating stories from Chinese history, please check out my membership and become a Noble Baobab. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
Stay curious, stay magical.